Everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today, we're here to discuss Revolutionary Fibers and Textiles Innovation Challenge. My name is Laura Murphy, and I'm here to sort of guide us through that conversation. And joining me is Marty Ryan. He's the Vice President for Naval Technologies at Advanced Technology International. And we're so excited to be standing up the challenge and the affiliate consortium, and to tell you all about how to do more with it, get involved, apply, and sort of what you stand to gain by doing that. So I'll share a little bit of a high level, and then we'll get to dive in with Marty, and we'll answer as many of your questions as we can at the end. So the way to ask a question is to go to on the control panel, go to the questions tab, and you can just enter it there. When we get to that point, I'll moderate those questions out to both he and I to get to as many as we can and answer those. So let's get started. So here's what we're trying to do with the challenge. We want to accelerate next generation fiber and textile technologies and connect innovators to government. You know that there's a component here with Department of War, but also with industry and investors and those kinds of stakeholders. We want to surface scalable solutions that have real world application potential. So thinking of dual use applications, both civilian and defense, and de-risk emerging materials through applied evaluation and visibility. So high level, we're looking for solutions that span these kind of topic areas. We're looking for advanced fibers, functional textiles, smart and responsive materials, sustainable and circular textile systems, and manufacturing and scale-up technologies. Things that might be out of scope are less so, we're less concerned with something fiber or textile related that's out of scope, and more so concerned with any organization that doesn't have a clear pathway for application. So we are looking for something that can be deployed. So if you don't have a development pathway or any defined application, research stage is fine, or earlier stage is okay, but we're really looking for something that has a clear path. So who can respond to building upon that? As long as your solution, has a path, you have an idea of how it could be applied, then you could be, you could represent a lot of different organizations. So startups or small businesses, universities and lab research teams are welcome. Manufacturers, producers, or even like cross-disciplinary teams would work. Anything that's applied R&D all the way through a commercial system. So why you should participate, Marty will speak a little bit more about this as well, but you get a lot of visibility. I would say that the key here is access and visibility that's just generally sort of hard to come by. So just by applying, you enter an opportunity report that is presented to the Department of War, and potentially could be presented to corporate scouts that reach out and ask for information, or investors and things like that. But in the room, if you make it to the pitch presentation, you have exposure to an audience that includes corporate scouts, investors, federal agencies, even city level city level scouts at times if your application has some carryover there. So there's a really broad array of folks who will be in the room at TechConnect World Innovation Conference, where you would pitch, where this culminates. So you have all of that. But you also get visibility just in applying, right? So even if you don't make it to the final pitch event, just putting your name in the hat gets you access and visibility to the challenge sponsors and partners, the folks that will review your solution on the front end. And as long as you meet the consortium client. So by doing this, there is not a dollar amount in the terms of a traditional prize pool. There's not an investor that's looking to take a cut in order for, and give you money or something like that. But what you gain is access on a stage, credibility, and through that, potential pilots, funding that comes, through direct outreach from the audience, from the review panel, things like that, and also just new customers, new partners that you could be working with. So it gives you a stage and a national exposure. So here's a few key dates and timelines. So today we're on the webinar, welcome. Please be sure you submit your solution by the end of day, January 15th of early next year. And we plan to let you know just a couple of weeks after that in early February, whether you're in the loop to head with us to Raleigh, North Carolina, where the TechConnect World Innovation Conference will be held March 10 through 12. So what does the application submit? It's not overly onerous. Really, it's a short narrative. You're going to tell us about your tech, tell us about the market, tell us about your maturity level, a little bit about your organization. It's a pretty quick form, and your team, that kind of thing. You're not required to send in samples or anything like that. So this is just sharing a little bit about what it is that your technology does and how it applies into this application. What makes a strong submission? So you want to clearly articulate the pain that you're solving, share about the technical aspects of your solution, so we can speak. Our review panel can understand what that entails, and you can share what makes it credible, what makes it possible. If you have demonstrated feasibility, then we would want to know about any of that. If you can speak to what you know about potential feasibility, that would be really important. Talk about the pathway that you envision. Talk about what you think, kind of, if you could have it your way, if you could meet the partners you want to meet, what would this challenge achieve for you? I think those are really clear, really important things to put in the application where you can, and definitely if you were to pitch, things to share on site, that you have a vision for your path and how you would move forward. Any kind of scalable manufacturing or deployment logic. So really important piece here is that the application is intended to be completely non-confidential. If you submit something confidential, unfortunately we can't keep it, can't use it, and so we have to ask you if there's time to resubmit, and if there's not, then it disqualifies you. So we're not taking IP, we don't want to see anything confidential, so anything that's publicly shareable we would encourage and we'd like to have. Anything beyond that, please don't send it. So a few things that we are asked often, and that I have no doubt would be asked today: are international teams eligible? No, not at this time. It's possible that the Department of War, that the folks that we're working with, the review panels, would ultimately want to see solutions from an international team. And so because the application is not overly onerous, and because the solutions report will get in front of some scouts, some important agencies, I would recommend that as long as you're if you're not in an export controlled country, it might be worth applying. There is a chance there's another pathway for you to work with the client, and it's even possible we would change that. We'll change that eligibility requirement, but technically no, you need to be a US-based company. And can you submit more than one solution? You can, yes. So as long as there's clear technical differentiation between the solutions, then we welcome as many as you'd like to submit. Are you required to attend the final event? If you are invited to pitch and you accept and you become, a finalist, yes, you are required to attend. You confirm your acceptance through registration, and yeah, we expect you to be there and share your solution. And what are any costs for participation? There are no costs. You get a free pass to attend the overall TechConnect World Innovation Conference event. There's no cost to apply or anything like that. The only thing is that you have to get there to Raleigh to pitch. So again, January 15th is the deadline. Please submit your application by end of day then. If you need access to the submission link, you can go ahead and click on or use this QR code. It should take you to the right spot. And if you need to ask a question or have anything you'd like to ask, that's my email address, laura@techconnect.org. We're administering or producing the challenge, which is powered also by ATI. So this is a high level, kind of what to expect and what we're looking for, a few things that we're not, how to engage. And so as you pop in any questions, if there's anything that I missed, please do that. Don't forget them, add them to the control panel. And then I want to pass over to Marty. So I mentioned that Marty's the Vice President for Naval Technologies at Advanced Technology International. And he can speak both to the opportunity from the consortium that's standing up this challenge, as well as a little bit more about what you can think for scope and sort of how this is all, the reason this has all gotten stood up and why we're moving forward with it. So Marty, I'll turn it over to you to share a little bit more.
Thank you, Laura. So why did we initiate this challenge, and maybe even more curiously, why did we do it now, right? Those of you who are familiar with TechConnect know that we conduct these challenges and/or stand-up consortia on a regular basis, right? Sometimes they're sponsored by a government program. Sometimes they're just because we see an opportunity. And this situation is the latter, right? We see an opportunity here. And I'll give you a couple examples of where we've done this in the past. On the consortium side, several years ago, we saw what was happening in critical minerals, and we established an ATI-funded consortium called the Consortium for Rare Earth Technologies. And we held a symposium at TechConnect that has now grown into one of TechConnect's largest technical tracks, right? Year over year, it just keeps growing. And it's a symposium that matches key technology innovations to industry users, right? And that's what challenges are all about too, right? Connecting those innovations to people who might be able to utilize them. The second example of which was a challenge was back in August. We culminated an advanced manufacturing challenge for maritime applications. On that one, we received 275 viable concepts. We down selected to 13 that were presented in front of an audience of Navy and OEM representatives, right? We are still culling and disseminating those results, but already several of the participants have made connections with those OEMs and the Navy sponsors, and they're talking about ways forward. So that's an example of where we simply did a challenge around a topic. So why fibers and textiles, and why now? If you already work with the Department of War in this space, you're familiar with AFOA, Advanced Functional Fabrics of America. They're one of the Manufacturing USA institutes. It's been in existence for about 10 years, but that institute is now up for recompete. So there's added visibility at the moment for fibers and textiles, and the fibers and textiles topic is similar and adjacent to several TechConnect materials and manufacturing tracks that we already have going and have going for many, many years. So we ATI, we're taking this opportunity to get this challenge into our March TechConnect World Innovation Conference in Raleigh, right? And so that's why we're doing it now. We're trying to get it in there so that we don't have to wait too long after the next institute is stood up. Now, it's possible that the new Revolutionary Fibers and Textile Manufacturing Institute will be awarded by then, in which case the Institute and the Department of War will be invited to participate in the challenge as panelists, right? It's also possible that the competition for the Institute will still be active in March, in which case we will hold all the concepts until the Institute is awarded, and then we'll provide the concepts after award. So that's kind of our plan going forward now. It may feel a little early for us to have done this challenge, since it might not be awarded by the time we do the challenge, but again, we didn't want to have to push out to our November Defense TechConnect conference. We felt that would be too late, so we decided to go ahead and get started. Again, these are ATI funded, so it's something we're able to do. On a related note, I think, Laura, are we going to drop the link for the consortium in the chat?
Yes, I'll drop that now.
Laura will drop that in there. It's the link for the Revolutionary Fibers and Textiles Consortium that ATI has established. We've established this consortium in preparation for the recompete for that manufacturing institute, right? Quite frankly, some of you on this call, I'm sure, are on competing teams. Not an issue at all. You could still participate in the challenge. The idea here is that we get as many interesting concepts kind of identified so that we can share them going forward, right? By the way, it's free to join the consortium, and we're simply getting ready in the event that we are awarded the follow-on Manufacturing USA Institute, right? We want to make sure that we're prepared to respond quickly after award. We often do this when we're competing for a new consortium, especially one that operates under an OTA. So we do this all the time, and if we don't win, then we figure out a way to kind of disband the consortium or figure out how to utilize it going forward. In this case, if we're not involved in the institute, the consortium and the challenge will serve as a foundation for a fibers and textiles technical track in subsequent TechConnect World Innovation Conferences, right? So we see it kind of potentially going the same way it's gone with the critical minerals from several years ago. Okay. The focus areas identified by the Department of War are listed on the challenge page, and Laura threw them up there as well. The submission form is very simple, right? It's less than 600 words after you kind of tell us a little bit about your company, and that's just enough to give us what we need to down select. and then the teams whose concept we select will be able to build their 5-minute presentations, present at the challenge, but also, whether you're selected or not, your concept will be provided to the Department of War. So any viable concept that we receive, we put that together in a package. It's sortable, and we provide that to government sponsors for them to take a look through. So that, in a nutshell, is where we are. I do encourage you, because the submission form is so short, if you've got an innovative concept that you'd like people to learn about, just go ahead and put it in, and we guarantee you somebody with a need will at least see it at some point. As you all know, right? The chances of actually getting funding off of these are, it's not 50-50, right? It's much less than that. But if you have a concept, it's easy enough to apply, get it into the challenge, and who knows who you might be able to connect with if you're presenting at the challenge. So, Laura, I think that's all I have for now.
Yeah, I think that point is really important. It's just getting your innovation in front of the right people, or people who can make a difference, who even have the potential to buy within the Department of War or similar, size agencies, can be really, really tough. And so the consortium gives you that access, and this challenge is part of that. This is sort of what consortia do, is they give you exclusive access, and this challenge is a taste of what that looks like. So should it be stood up in the ways that we expected, in the ways that the other consortia that ATI manages are, you get access to exclusive opportunities throughout the year. They're really specific to this solution set. And so just becoming part of the ecosystem, getting visibility, those are all really important first steps toward that end goal. And yeah, it just reduces some of the challenge in getting in front of the right folks. So we welcome your questions. We'll do our best to answer them. I have a couple from the registration stage, and a couple now that I'll go ahead and answer. So one of them from Vinit: will this presentation be shared after the webinar? So I'm happy to share the slides, but more importantly, the recording will be shared on TechConnect.org as well as on the challenge page. If you look in the chat, you'll see that we've linked to the consortium page, so you can learn more about what that is. It's connected to ATI. You can learn more about ATI. And then also I've linked to the challenge page itself. So if you need to refresh yourself on sort of areas of interest, if you are looking for the application link, head over there that way. And we'll have the recording there so you can share it and revisit. And then Holland asked, is there a template or additional submission guidelines for submissions? So no additional guidelines. One thing I will say is that when you go to do the
Okay, Laura has phased out on us.
Coming back. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully you can still see me. The question was, is there a downloadable, or is there a template or additional submission guidelines? And what I was saying is that when you go to the application page, you'll notice there's a Word document you can download ahead of time, and you can complete that. So as you're filling in everything, it's saved, and then you just when you do your actual online application, you've had that to sort of work through as a worksheet. So that itself, the Word document, is not something you can attach or use in lieu of the online application, but it just allows you to, if you have 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and you want to do a question at a time, you don't want to sit down and do it all at once, then you can do it that way. Or if you want to look ahead at the questions and prepare for them, maybe with different members of your team, that's an option. Noel, will there be an opportunity for sharing contact information to encourage networking among members? So Marty, within the consortia, within that ecosystem, is there an opportunity for members to get to know one another?
We don't have that open yet, but we're quite the stage we're in right now. We are in the first phase of the competition for the Institute. If we are asked to participate in the second stage, that's something that we would stand up then and kind of really kick the consortium into full gear at that point.
Another question: if we are selected to pitch, can we do it virtually? Unfortunately, no. We're looking for people who will be on site, who can shake hands there in person, meet the audience, meet the review panel. We don't have a virtual pitch opportunity for the final TechConnect World Innovation Conference. However, as Marty's mentioned, you'll be part of an innovation, like an opportunity report, and should any of the stakeholders want to meet you, even if you aren't selected in that final pitch, for that final pitch round, they'll have your information, and those meetings would take place virtually. All right, let's see here. Reading through a question really fast. Okay, for small businesses working on bio-derived fibers, biodegradable nonwovens, medical protective textiles, and carbon precursor materials, which topic areas offer the strongest alignment with priorities, and which level of technical maturity do you expect? So this is really actually a great question. When you complete the application, it'll ask you, what application area do you align with? I want you to know that whatever you pick, it does not influence whether you're accepted. We're not looking for like one from each of these bullet point areas. If we got all of the submissions strongest aligned with one micro topic, that is what we would take. We're looking for the strongest, highest, and best options here. We're not looking for a specific, even distribution. So it doesn't impact you to say that you feel the most aligned, you feel your solution solves a specific problem, even if it has maybe multi-use. You're just going to choose what you feel is the most applicable application area. And I think there's also an option to say what the secondary is, so that doesn't hurt you. And for technical maturity, we're not expecting, it needs to be applied R&D at the very least, all the way up. So research without direction at this point is not of interest, right? But if you have a plan, if you know that there could be a path for that research, then even something that early stage is all right. You don't need to be able to show us a prototype on site. I would say often, Marty, what would you say is sort of maybe like typically a most promising TRL level? Do you have any insight into that?
So certainly, typically in the ManTech world, we're looking at the 3 to 5, coming into the process 3 to 5. But we certainly have taken some TRL2s and moved them forward if they looked promising enough. And certainly even higher TRL levels, they might be ready for prime time somewhere else, but maybe they still need some to make them applicable for a particular DOW application, right? So 3 to 5 is typically what I look at, but there's some range outside of that as well.
Thank you. Margaret asked, how many presentations will we select? So we actually have, because we run the conference, we have the flexibility to look at a natural break. So I would say that at most, that's a 20 or so solutions. It's typically less than that. So when we're reviewing, we'll look at where does that natural break fall, and we'll select fewer than 20, I would say. Marty, does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I think the last couple we've done have had 13 and 18 that I can remember. And again, sometimes it was to fit within a particular window, right? The time window. But yeah, typically we find that a dozen up to 20 we get really viable, solid solutions that we can have presented.
All right, Jan asked, should we sign up for the conference only after we hear back about our pitch submitted, and when would we hear back? So I recommend that you do. If you think, if you're if you're waiting for this, you can sign up for the conference, all the way up to the day that you walk in the door. Don't recommend that necessarily, but yes, you would receive a comp pass. So if you are offered the opportunity to pitch, so I would say, yeah, it's worth the wait of a couple weeks. If that's key for you, if you're going to attend anyway, then feel free to register, and we can always retroactively, comp that pass. You'll hear back in early February is our plan, because we want to give you ample time to book travel and make arrangements to be on site. All right, what's next here? Okay, so another question sort of specific to scope, circularity and recycling of Army garments and textiles to keep textile manufacturing in the U.S. supply chain. Is that a focus? I think the audience is probably, well, I mean, Marty, maybe you want to speak to that first, and then I can add some color. But what would you say, kind of in or out?
So I would think it would be of interest. Whether or not it would be, something that would be at the top of the list, I don't know. But again, it's easy to apply, right? If you've got an innovative way to deal with that, I would say put it in, right?
Yeah, and we want to really be clear. We're looking for technologies and sort of innovations in that sense, less so than processes. So it depends also on what your approach looks like. But as Marty said, put it in because the audience is they're focused on this specific challenge for review, but that doesn't mean that's all their role isn't focused on. They may have much broader interests beyond just this, and so it doesn't hurt you to take advantage of that access. Okay, Margaret asked, how many attendees do you expect in the audience, and do we have any fixed DOW attendees committed? So number of attendees is generally around 2,000, could be slightly higher. And we will be able to share with you sort of like key speakers and key attendees from DOW. The number of actual attendees is unfortunately not like a specific number I can nail down for you right now, but we'll be able to share a little bit more about that as we go. We'll also be able to share with you sort of what the review panel looks like as we go along. We'll make that stuff publicly available so you have a sense of who's in the pitch room. And I guess to give a little more color on that as well, should you be selected to present, you'll have 5 minutes to present typically, and then we do a short Q&A after that with the review panel. They not only ask questions and sort of probe for audience interest as well as their own, but also they sometimes can give you like, hey, I know this person, let's talk afterward. They might give you a tip or something like that that's helpful, and they just are really keyed into your presentation and engaged with it. And they tend to be people who are like action drivers, and so it could be like they tend to be like force multipliers, so they could be folks that would make a difference just in meeting them on their own. So we'll be able to share that a little bit more.
And to further clarify, right, 2,000 will be at the conference. There won't necessarily be 2,000 people in the challenge room, but we typically get up to 100 in the actual challenge rooms when we break out, right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. Thank you. That's a really important clarification, Marty. All right. Raha asked, if we've been accepted into another challenge, can we participate in both? You may. Yes. There's no limit to the ways in which you can engage at the conference. So if you have ways of creating additional value, if there's other topics and spaces of interest for you, then great. I think that's making good use of your time there. Another one from Shang, for technologies in the TRL 3 to 5 range, what level of supply chain readiness or domestic manufacturing planning do you expect from competitive applicants? What do you think you want to say to that, Marty?
Certainly the more you know about that aspect, the better. Now you've only got 600 words, right? So there's only so much you can talk about. But again, a part of why you might get funded to do a manufacturing technology effort is so that some of that type of thing can be resolved during the project, right? So yes, it's great to have as much of that known up front, but it can also be part of the project to kind of evolve that.
All right. Another question is, what else is at the conference besides these pitches? Are there other parallel tracks and things like that draw attendees? So that's a great question. I've dropped in the chat the conference page so you can get a sense of what all we do. It's been running for over 25 years. It's really an interesting and unique opportunity because it really it showcases the ways in which innovation is so multidisciplinary. So a lot of times you have really siloed events around a specific topic. TechConnect World really looks at innovation and developing it across stages. So you have everything from early stage research all the way to like corporate and scouting and government and everything in between. There's some way for you to connect and create partnerships and make matches, so to speak, whether that's with funders or partners or whatever that may be. So there are other innovation like business pitches that will take place within the program. There are symposia that are highly technical with experts on specific domains. We have over 35 of those. You can look into them. There certainly are applicable subjects to this challenge, so you would, I'm sure, have interest there. And then, if you feel like your innovation crosses, outside just of, this particular challenge, you may have interest. For example, someone mentioned a technology that's maybe an overlap with sustainability, for example, or energy. So there's lots there as well. Or so I recommend that you look at the challenge page, look at some of the different symposia and the other business pitch events that will take place. They'll all also have review panelists. It's just a great opportunity to network. The expo is full of solution providers and seekers both, and so you have that, and then SBIR STTR hosts its Spring Innovation Conference in co-location with this. So if you're looking for funding, those agencies will be on site and able to meet with you directly and talk with you about funding and how to prepare, solid proposals. There's meeting sessions and stuff like that where you actually get to meet agency representatives. A lot of fun. So that's another great aspect for co-location. All right, let's look and see if we have any other questions. Is there any public information on how and where Army textiles are currently made, so we can reference that when talking about material and supply chain innovation? Marty, do you know anything about that, or?
We can take a look and provide something. I don't know what's available at the moment off the top of my head.
We can look into that and try to get back to you on that question if we find something helpful. Let's see. Someone asked, if I do get invited to pitch, can I delegate it to someone else on my team if I'm not able to attend? Yes. Anyone from your company can pitch. In fact, we've sometimes seen like 2 people walk up and present, at the same time, or maybe one person presents and the other one is there to support for any questions that come across. It's a friendly environment, and as long as you feel your company is well represented and it's actually someone who can speak to the solution that you've applied, then that's fine. Margaret, so this will be one of maybe 20 parallel tracks. It's really hard to say exactly what you mean by that, but no, it's not. There are not 20 tracks. When you look at the program, let me see if I can. There's roughly 4. You have like a technical program, a business program, SBIR, and Smart Cities Connect that are happening. There are symposia, but they take place across March 10th, 11th, and 12th. They're not all happening on all days. So dig in on the program to get a sense of exactly what's going on there. Allison asked, if we've already submitted, can we revise after this webinar? Once you've submitted, there's no way to go in and edit your application, but you can resubmit and just let me know, and we can delete your old entry if you'd like. If we see duplicate entries, we will always take the most recent one, but it's sometimes hard for us to know if it is a duplicate or if it's a second entry from that company, so it's always best to let us know. Okay, so for Marty, for evaluating TRL 3 through 5 technologies, what are the top criteria you prioritize? So are you more interested in manufacturability, scalability, alignment with DoD mission? Is there anything that you would be, do you feel like in the application there's something that's like most important that stands out to you?
At the end of the day, right, we're looking to develop technologies that are going to deploy, that are going to implement in systems that warfighters will use. So when you talk about those are all potential hurdles that have to be overcome. And one of the things we take a very close look at is in the beginning of any concept, before we fund it, we do take a look across the board at anything that might get in the way of implementation. We try and identify up front, are there OSHA standards that we have to deal with? Who's going to actually pay for the qualification testing if it's needed, right? Who's going to buy that machine that's going to be needed to actually make these things, right? So we try and take a look at all of that up front. So I would say, yeah, I know you'd like me to kind of pinpoint which one to focus on mostly, but the ultimate idea here is, how is it going to get implemented into weapon systems, right? So that soldiers and our weapon systems themselves can utilize this technology. So that's what I would say you need to be focused on.
Great answer. Someone asked, Jamal, are you covering costs like lodging, food, and travel? No. That's the one thing you've got to pay for. You can get into the conference at no cost, and we actually allow for you to bring 2 people, but you do have to pay to get there. All right, do we have any other questions? Anything else we can answer that's on your mind about this? We are both available to you, and specifically, if you'd like to email me, my email address is right here on the screen, laura@techconnect.org. If you'd like to learn more about the consortium, if you'd like to join in anticipation of what will certainly be an exciting new consortium under ATI and opportunity, then Marty is your guy, and I'm happy to connect you to him or to his team. But we're really excited to see what it is that you're innovating in this space, and to meet you in person and to connect you to more opportunities TechConnect world as well. So thank you so much for joining the call and for asking such great questions. Marty, thank you for your insight and speaking about the consortium as well. And we look forward to seeing more from you all. Have a good one.